Hi guys, welcome back to the last ever episode for the Kemono Jihen on Clockwork Noodles. Hello and welcome back. Thank you guys so much for tuning in one last time as we conclude season 1. If you haven't already, make sure you guys have subscribed to the channel because we're about to do the whole flipperoonie thing where we switch seasons. We're about to pick up 5 new anime. So if you want to see what 5 anime I am doing, check out the schedule. You can also check out the video for the wrap up where you get the top 3 anime of winter 2021 and you also get the announcement of what I'm exactly watching. There is as well a Discord channel for you guys to join, keep track of all the stuff going on the channel. There's a lot of content going around at the moment, so it allows you to keep track of all the videos that have gone up. And it's a great place for me to keep you guys updated, give you any anime news update. You get to keep track of all the stuff that's going down on the channel. Let's kick off back into the fight between Nobumaru and Yui. We get to see the power of the Null Stone in action as Nobumaru tries to pull the stone from Yu's chest, and it essentially just feeds off the user. It kind of crumbles his hand, so it looks like his hand is crumbling. Kabane arriving in the nick of time to save Nobumaru. I hope he remembers that next season if there is going to be one, because Kabane totally saved your tail. The team up between the two is fantastic. I want to quickly talk about the powering up of these two together. Kabane is able to use the fox powers, the kitsune powers, to overcome the ice power, which is fantastic. And it's all part of the roast Kabane plan. I like the name. It is simple, it is effective, and it does exactly what it is on the tin. Nobumaru is calculating and calm. We get to see him working out the balance that is needed to keep up regeneration powers of Kabane and his flames, because he's a smart cookie. It's great seeing these two team up together. But it also means that the two are at their limit. So we know there's a limit. There's only a limit to how much Kabane can take. And he's roughly at that limit. The Null Stone, talking about the Null Stone, lending you to be able to power up his defense, getting some armor made out of ice. This is the Fire and Ice episode of the season. And it's also, this episode is lit. I had to make that pun at some point. There's the pun. This episode, the fight is lit. To even keep up with the new powered up version of Yu, Kabane has to destroy his own body to keep up. Akira ends up barging in when Akira must have quite a sight seeing the flaming skull of your best friend just in front of you. I think Kabane would have lost anyway. Yu ends up being disabled due to the Null Stone bringing the fight to a grinding end, but Kabane would have lost. I think Kabane would have ended up losing anyway because his body was at that point, it was disintegrating. It would have gone to Yu anyway. I love the fact that at the end it ends up with just Kabane's head. Nobumaru is holding the flaming skull of Kabane. The full intro starts to play. We have our vocals. It's a really beautiful moment. Akira touching the stone in the chest and ending up, in a sense, it seems that they are linked. Akira is able to see what Yu has been through, and we also, as an audience, get to see that Akira was believed to be dead. Yu believed Akira was dead. He believed what the woman had said, and he essentially exchanged his own life, his grief, and made a pact with the Null Stone. And that's when the Null Stone ended up joining his chest. We also at that point get the information that yes, the village was indeed destroyed. And that is also where we see the Null Stone and the Life Stone come together as one. And it's just the sheer power, the shockwave that is formed when the Null Stone and the Life Stone become one. This power is huge. It destroys the castle, which is some distance away. We get the Inari screenshot where she looks really, really angry. It seems like she knew it was a likelihood that it was going to happen. It does make me wonder what the extent of her knowledge is. So it seems to be quite powerful. She knows what would happen. The Life Stone and Null Stone now becoming one. The new shape is quite cool. If you held it at a certain angle, it looks like a skull. Inari ends up showing herself and taking the stone. Nobumaru then again giving us the information that this was all planned, which is why I'm a little bit shocked that she was angry. So she looked really, really angry during the explosion. That is when we start to get more and more information on the stones, that the two are counteracting one another. So one gives life, one essentially destroys and takes. I am very happy to finally see Inagami and Shiki both now animated once more. They've been frozen for 2 episodes, so very good to see them back. Nobumaru turns down Kabane's offer to heal him, which is quite sad. It's a bit of an odd one. Nobumaru is a bit of a mystery to me. This is why I think he's quite a fascinating character, because he is fully aware that Inari is using him, but he still goes with her, which to me means he has a plan. He's got a long-term plan. He wants to get something from the situation, or he's got something to gain from being with her, or she's got something on him, because he seems to be a very awakened character in the sense that he knows what's going on. He's up to speed. He can see past it. He's very intelligent as well. So definitely I think Nobumaru is going to be a main player at some point. If there was another season, he'd be in it. Kabane ends up wearing Shiki's hoodie, which is a very precious moment for me. And then we get our apology, the apology we were waiting for, the one I knew would happen at some point because Akira never meant anything that he said. That apology, the confession of love, leads to perhaps the most precious moment in the anime, where they're just kind of spinning around. All Kabane can say is terrific, terrific, terrific. And he's just too precious. I love Kabane to pieces, and Kabane is a character because of the way he is, the way he's just so blunt, he's so honest. I love him to pieces. He's been a fantastic character to follow. The trio finally end up uniting, where we start to get some interesting information now, which is hopefully building up to a second season if it was to get one, because we're getting the information we need now on the stones. The Null Stone is thousands of years old, and this leads us into a story about the Kemono incidents. We know Inagami knows something about it because he actually reacts to hearing the word. And the Kemono incidents was a war between the humans and the Kemono. It only ended when the Kemono were able to erase the memories of the humans, which ended the war, allowed them to essentially be at peace with them. This is all the backstory, the lore that is behind the stone. It also gives us an idea of the way that their world works, the fact that the Kemono and the humans were initially aware of one another, but now they're not so much aware of one another. The stones prevented the war. So the stones are now there to prevent reoccurrence of the Kemono incidents, and they are imbued with the powers of the most powerful Kemono out there. And it's all coming down to the one word called balance. Balance is a key feature of this episode. The idea that the two stones are supposed to counterbalance one another, so not a single stone gets too powerful, that they can kind of keep each other in check. The stones are essentially a peacekeeping method. Kabane's parents are the prestigious Kemono chief. One of them must have been anyway, because I think one was human. She's the one who ended up giving it to her sister in the fields, the woman in the farm. So maybe Kabane's dad was the prestigious Kemono chief. Opens up some can of worms, like what happened to him, what happened to make them end up leaving Kabane with the stone as well in the hands of a human, her sister. So something must have happened there. Very interesting, setting up some mystery now. Inagami does try to raise the idea that they may have picked it up, but I kind of feel like it's more likely to be the latter, and that as well, it makes a bit more sense than just randomly picking it up. But if they did pick it up, where did you get it from? What happened to the owner? The soundtrack at this point is absolutely great. I love it to pieces. It is instrumental, but it's also a very positive piece. It feels like it's flowing forward. Our journey is now taking shape. We're now moving forward as well. The chapter is shifting. We are told that there are Kemono stones all over the country, and Inagami is now up for the challenge. This is where our next plot is taking us. Somebody out there must know something. Somebody must know who held that stone. We have another precious bean moment where everybody goes into the high five thing, but because Kabane is so precious, he's not quite accustomed to the idea of a high five or a high 10. He kind of just puts up his hands and just stands there too, and it's just a great moment. Kabane this episode bringing in the much needed cuteness to the episode, as well as going from a flaming skull to a really, really cute character. Team antagonist are not put off. And they have a new character in mind. I am so sad. As soon as I heard that Inari had a... it was Nobumaru. Nobumaru puts Kon forward. It's Nobumaru's fault. We're going to end up using Kon to get the stone from Kabane without incurring Inagami's wrath. So the problem is they can't take the stone by force from Kabane. They have to get Kabane to essentially forfeit the stone. I feel like this moment has been a little bit foreshadowed. There was an episode where we even see, I think it's in a dream sequence or something, where we see him handing the stone to Inari. So I'm really worried that at some point he will end up handing it over. The Null Stone and the Life Stone are given up to Cabernet as we get our final wrap up with Yu. Yu tries to push Akira away because he's burdened by his grief. He doesn't believe he's worthy of having him around. He sees himself as a bad person, so he wants to keep Akira away from it. Haunted by the weight of his actions now as well, because he's now fully conscious. The stone's been removed. He's now clear on all the actions he's done up until that point. But it finally leads to that moment that we've been building towards. Akira finally stands up to Yu. And again, freezing the room at the same time, so I feel bad for everybody else who's a little bit more weaker to cold. But it's a opening up. He gets everything on his chest out. He tells him how he really feels. It's a moment that was really needed for these two to actually talk. The twins need to work together, so we need to actually get them both on a level playing field. Yu needs to understand how Akira feels. Akira needs to understand how Yu feels. And it's great to see those two coming together and actually having a happy ending to the situation. They end up taking that fun screenshot with the stars, the fingers. Cabernet is just absolutely so precious, where he just kind of goes, yay, because he doesn't quite understand what's going on. But he's trying, guys. He's trying. And that ends that little sequence there, where we go back to Nobumaru telling Kon that Inari has given her a mission, that she needs to cozy up to Cabernet, end up abusing his good, loving nature, and then get him to give her the stone because she can't force it. She must know that this is wrong. She must be conflicted inside because she's so trusting. I think she's a wee bit gullible at times as well, because she still wants to be with Inari at the same time. But at the same time, we know that Kon wants to be Cabernet's number one. So she must be conflicted deep down about doing this, because she's got to trick Cabernet, the person she wants to be number one in his books. We have Mihai's final appearance as he promises to restore Lama-kun, but he promises he will do it during the updates to his game. Good old Owen. I love finding out that was actually who was voice acting for Mihai. So happy, because I'm a very big Owen fan. Come on, Owen, restore the llama to its full shape. You know you want to. The next chapter is about to begin, and it seems that Akira Shiki will not be joining us on this next leg. Akira and Yu are going on a much needed vacation, so I kind of figured that they want some time to catch up brother to brother, and will not be joining us for the next part of the story of Cabernet's journey. Shiki is bowing out for a little bit as well, so we're just going to keep it to the basis here, where we have our two who initially started the whole thing. We have Inagami and Cabernet. They were a pairing in episode 1. They're finally a pairing again. They're going to be moving this part of the story forward. The spy Kon ends up joining team Cabernet-gami. Can I call him Cabernet-gami? And I love it, the fact that Inagami on the point. He knows exactly what's going on, and he figured out exactly who sent her, why she's there, and he's going to bill her. She can pay for Kon being there. Inagami is finally able to take on the case. He even apologizes for it taking for so long. And that is where we end. So this was a promise he made in episode 1. He promised, I will get on the case. I will find your parents. He's finally here. That ends the season 1. Bit of an open-ended end. So if there is going to be a season 2, it can happily pick it up if it wants to. I do hope it gets a season 2. Let's go into my final thoughts on Kemono Jihen. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10 for a few different reasons. Number 1, the soundtrack is great. It's really nicely done. I think it really, really works. Episode 1, I absolutely loved that episode to pieces. I love the pacing. I love the build. I love the cold open. I really like the early episodes. I also liked the last 2 episodes, the pacing on those ones as well. The horror element is really subtle, but when it is used, it also is used quite well. It conveys the atmosphere. It makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable watching things, especially with the episode of the bugs, if people have a thing with bugs as well. The voice actors did a fantastic job. I particularly liked Kon's voice actor. I loved Inagami completely. Inagami as a character really carried the first few episodes. He's a great character, and the fact that he's such a caring character as well, that he really cares for Cabernet, he really cares for all of the kids. And he's quite a nice counter to Inari, because you've got your protagonists, and Inagami really is her counter. It's great. The artwork is clean, it's colourful. The story in the middle got a little bit loose for me, but then it picked back up again. It picked up the pace. It was back on it at the end. So absolutely loved the start, dropped in the middle a little bit, picked it back up again. It's an endearing tale about finding yourself, accepting one another. It focuses in on the idea of love and friendship. I went into this show not really expecting much, didn't really have high hopes. I figured it would be something I would watch, just do a little bit of a breakdown, maybe on more folklore. There wasn't too much in the way of folklore in it, but there was really nice aspects when they did actually draw from a real folklore tale. Cases focused in on stuff that I couldn't get any information on from real life cases, but they had essentially made up a case, but it worked. Everything they did worked. So all the villains, all of the characters they had, they really came together quite nicely. The side characters were quite nice. The additions of things like Mihai, very interesting character in on his own, and he played a big role in the end. There's quite a few different nice characters involved in the story, and I'm happy I picked it up because initially I wasn't going to be releasing on it, but then I figured the channel would be a bit empty with just 3 animes coming out. So I brought it to the forefront, figured I'd take a chance, and I'm happy because Kemono Jihen has kind of pulled the channel through this season, and I'm so thankful for Kemono Jihen for doing it because it's been a very quiet season. So thank you guys once again for tuning in. It has been amazing to have you guys. I really appreciate all the support you've had during this season. Kemono Jihen has been one hell of an anime. I'm so happy I picked up it. There is so much coming our way now. We're about to go into some very heavy animes, some fun animes, and I'm really excited to break it all down. There is more content going your way on Monday and on April the 1st. Make sure you guys are tuned in. Goodbye guys, and take care of yourselves.